If you want to save time and still get accurate results, then partner with 4 Pillars Research, proud sponsors of PI Perspectives. We specialize in uncovering insurance policies that can make or break your case. From identifying unknown policies to uncovering accurate policy information, we streamline the process so you can focus on your case. Partner with 4 Pillars Research and unlock the full potential of your investigations. Visit researchfpr.com to learn more.
This only happens once in a lifetime. The World Association of Detectives is proud to announce its 100th year celebration conference in Chicago from September 2nd through the 6th. This event is close to being sold out, and you don't want to miss it. Join investigators from over 85 countries and build your network. In 1925, WAD had its first conference at the Drake Hotel in Chicago. 100 years later, they are back. The schedule is packed, including pre-con trainings from Amber Schroeder and Jimmy Nessis. Visit WAD100conf.net to learn more or register. We'll put it in the links as well.
Private investigators, are you spending hours digging through online data? There's a better way. Scope Now is your all-in-one OSINT platform, automating the collection and analysis of publicly available information so you get results faster. Workbench helps you uncover key details on individuals and businesses. Link analysis connects the dots between entities, and pre-check flags potential risks in seconds. Plus, with Grid, you'll get real-time intelligence alerts, keeping you ahead of emerging threats. Stop the manual searching. Let Scope Now do the heavy lifting. Learn more at scopenow.com.
On Monday, July 28th, New Yorkers were horrified to see another mass casualty incident unfold at 345 Park Avenue. Tragically, 4 individuals lost their lives, including an off-duty police officer, Darul Islam. We want to extend our condolences to the 4 families who never thought their lives would change that Monday. This episode is dedicated to their memories and focuses on the need for innovative building security. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to this week's episode of PI Perspectives. Today, Matt welcomes David DeJesus of Argus365. David and his team offer an interesting security solution built around artificial intelligence. The guys discuss the synergy between private investigations and security consulting. Stick around to the end and learn how you can participate as a qualified partner with this technology. So please welcome David DeJesus and your host, New York private investigator, Matt Spaier.
And welcome everyone to the next episode of PI Perspectives. This is Matt Spaier, your host. Today, we're going to talk about some interesting technology. We've heard the buzzwords of AI, and as investigators, there's been many articles and people talking about how AI is basically getting more and more involved in investigative work. But it's not just investigative; it's actually in the security industry as well. Folks who have followed me online know that I partner up with Conflict International, and we recently had formed an agreement with Argus365. So today, I've got David DeJesus from Argus365 with me. David, I want to welcome you to the program.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great. I'm excited to have you on. I first learned about your technology, I want to say maybe about 4 or 5 months ago. And it's been an interesting journey how we've kind of formed this partnership. So for folks who don't know who you are, tell me a little bit about your background personally, and then tell me a little bit about Argus 365.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, thank you for having me. Hopefully we could get cover a lot of good stuff today to help other industry leaders, private investigators out there. My name is David DeJesus. I'm a former law enforcement officer, served over 20 years, and I'm also a military veteran. I have been involved a lot with training, especially training law enforcement and civilians, specifically like active shooter incident management for this specific topic that we're about to talk about. Mm-hmm. It's a training that a lot of law enforcement throughout the country is actually doing right now. Field force operations with mass gatherings. I have deployed to a lot of different venues, Republican National Convention. That was one of the ones. I've been to 3 presidential inaugurations, and I have been deployed overseas with FEMA as well for, responding to Puerto Rico for FEMA. So natural disasters. So I've been involved with that type, a lot of FEMA training, but I also been involved with for FEMA training for critical infrastructure protection sites, and being able to do risk and vulnerabilities on facilities. So that's kind of like my background with that law enforcement military end. And then I went transition over to the civilian sector, where I partner with my partner Las Carrera, who's a former retired sheriff's officer, DA task force member, who's been running Argus 60, founder of Argus 365,
Right.
your traditional security company. And then several years ago, he got into the AI analytics stuff to help help security out. And that's kind of like where we're at right now. And now we're just partnering up with other folks like Conflict International, and just getting the word out there on what's happening with AI and how it can help keep facilities safe.
Yeah, I mean, I first learned about this through Laz's brother, Jose, who I had met down at a NALI conference in Florida in January, and just through the discussions, he's like, "Hey, I think you should meet my brother. There's probably some synergy there," and people don't really think about that, right? So as investigators, we have relationships, whether it be with law firms or building managers, retail. There are different verticals that we do business with, or we just have relationships with, and you have that crossover. Um, and we started to think about like ways we could work together, and really what I wanted to cover today, and we'll get into it down the line, um, was some of the areas that we identified how investigators can work with security specialists, because essentially that's what your company is, right? Security as a solution, right? The SAS.
Yeah.
I got that
Security
right.
as a service. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry, security as a
Service.
service. Okay, all
Yeah,
right. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
almost there. I'm still learning the
And a
lingo.
solution. And a solution too. That's what we
I'm
yeah.
going to say a solution.
Yeah.
You could say service, whatever. We'll make it work. I'm still learning,
Yeah.
which is cool. Um, and there's that idea, and there is that cross pollination, especially in New York. So, in New York, security guard companies and investigation companies can be one and the same. So
Right.
you've got that. There are some of the bigger ones. A lot of them have fallen off. The security industry is kind of eaten itself. But there was a time where there was a lot of smaller type companies too, where they would do both, right? And there is that synergy there of having the live in person guard, and now you've got AI to uh, implement that or improve it essentially, where you can have different solutions that may be more cost effective, and we just want to educate people as to how that all works, and if you're an investigator that's listening to this and you have security relationships or whatever, like this is a way maybe you can kind of jump on board here and come along for the ride. So initially, Argus 365 was it just a standard security guard company, and alarms, and I think Les said you guys have been around like since the 70s, right? Originally,
Right, with the parent company in 1972.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, that's
The parent company started out as just your typical burglar and fire alarm,
right,
plain old telephone line. Somebody opens the window, breaks the window,
right.
and that's your security company,
Yeah,
monitor.
and you get along the way with technology, like things have changed, right? And it kind of opens the door for different things. And I thought like one of the things that was appealing uh, in the New York market is just so much business gets done, and as an investigator, identifying what we get hired for by those particular entities, and how can we offer additional services through partnerships with people that we just know, and that kind of made sense for all that. And yeah, it's been very interesting to kind of dip my toes into this and kind of learn more. And offline, I joke with you guys that like every time I go to a meeting, I learn more. I learn
Yeah,
more
yeah.
about the product.
I'm
And
still,
more,
we're all learning.
we're all
It's
learning,
evolving
right?
so quick. It's evolving. It's, before, like you said, it was old security, just your typical security guard. And now I have also background. My school background is my bachelor's is in technical management, which is
Mhm.
computers and stuff. And if you're not using computer, if you're not keep getting educated on new softwares, coding and stuff, you're constantly learning. So we're learning every day, even in this industry. It's like, if you're not attending the ISC, the International Security Conference, which is the biggest one worldwide, you go there. They have two a year. That's how fast this technology is moving. Where they
Yeah,
have two events a year, so people can get up to date on where it's going and what's going on.
it's crazy. It's the way things have just in the past year have taken off. And listen, the hottest topic right now, you start talking about technology and the way things have changed. If you're in the tri-state area, is the shooter situation that just happened. We're recording this on a Friday. It happened on Monday, right? So it happened 5 days ago, and understanding the horror of all that. And I do want to talk about that for a little bit. We're going to spend a couple minutes on that. The horror of that going down, and really understanding how maybe a solution that you guys have, this AI assisted camera system, could have helped change the events on that. And we're talking about object recognition software, where somebody approaching a building with a heavy duty firearm, what does that look like? How does that work? And how things could have played out differently, maybe if they had some sort of solution implemented in that building. So there's a lot to unpack there. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. And the incident is fresh on our minds, and obviously out of respect for the victims and their families, right? We keep them in our prayers.
Yeah.
Um, you know, uh, it's frustrating when I see that incident, because especially in New York City, 8 million, over 8 million people, especially at the location where they occurred at. We're talking about Park Ave, NFL headquarters, Blackstone, the money that is just involved around the city. I can't say, I don't want to sit here and Monday morning quarterback and say it could have been prevented.
Right.
Um, but you can't prevent everything, but more could have been done. And I don't know, what kind of security technology, what did they have in place at the building. So like I said, into more investigation is done, what could have went wrong, but but I feel like there's always more that could be done. And a lot of times we put dollars and figures on these security features. Like our technology, what we have is very cost effective for buildings like that, for locations, for any type of vertical. It's very cost effective, and people's always looking at dollars and cents until an incident like this happens. Then they're
Right.
like, oh, we should have paid to have like that
Yeah.
security alarm. So it's all it's stuff that could have been prevented, but it's also stuff that can we have to get better at responding to it as well, and
Yeah.
and we have to prepare for the next one. We have to continue to prepare for it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like the way things work in our country is it's we're reactive, right? Anytime there's a mass shooting, or just a mass casualty incident, I think is what they call it. Anytime you've got that, more than four people have lost their lives, there's always that, oh, you should have had this. Had you had this been done, we wouldn't be able to do it. It's you do get into that Monday morning quarterback. Yeah, but that was my first thought after all that went down, and that's 7 blocks away from where my office is. Like my phone was blowing up when this was going down. Hey, are you near that? Or is everything okay? Um, and yeah, it's crazy. My first thoughts on that were, obviously you're not going to prevent somebody showing up with a high caliber weapon, the loss of lives. Let's be realistic. You probably weren't happy. That probably was not going to happen. But I do feel if there was some sort of technology in place that maybe early warning, that they were made aware that this person was incoming a little bit quicker, like some steps could have been taken to maybe shut the elevators down.
Right.
Or you and I were chatting offline about this. Or having a talk talkback feature, right? Because they do have that in the camera systems, right? Where you're able to be like, hey, like we see you, like don't even think about it, right?
Right.
And maybe just that spurring of like second thought chases the guy away. So crap,
Right.
yeah, I'm not going to do this. It just turns around and goes. Who knows, right? It could be, maybe not. We can say,
Right.
presume that that could have been, could have gone differently. You don't know, but in situations like this, every single second saves lives. Every single second that you've got extra could determine a different outcome for how things happen. Maybe an officer doesn't get shot in the back. Maybe they're
Right.
returning fire. Like you don't know on this. And again, we can sit here and talk for another hour over with code,
Right.
right? Easy. But the technology's out there and it's constantly changing. So let's talk about a scenario here, a situation where there's an alert that happens, and what's the life cycle once that alert comes in with the Argus product here?
Yeah, absolutely. Before I get into that, because you start off by saying, proactive versus reactive. Like we're reacting to these things, and you know, with the law enforcement background, after Sandy Hook, the active shooter scenario there, where SWAT teams are waiting outside. That's the way they used to classically train. Wait, call SWAT team, and throughout the years, law enforcement has been doing an excellent job, along with federal Homeland Department, security and stuff, just Homeland Security, just training law enforcement to be more proactive. There's a great book I recommend out there. It's called Left to Bang. It's written by Patrick Van Horn, who is the Marine Corps uses it,
Mhm.
and basically that left a bang being the incident. So over the past several years, over 10 years now, law enforcement has been training on left to bang. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because it talks about it. It's going to lead into our technology and why I'm an advocate of our technology and why we should have it in these buildings. And left for bang, the way the way we're training law enforcement right now is to be more proactive, is by trying to identify those pre-event indicators, whether it be suspicious behavior cues, and deviations from the normal pattern for individuals. So I've been part of that type of training where we'll go to a mall, we'll go to Six Flags, and we would train, over weeks, just learning behavior patterns, the norm there, and then we will send like the guinea pig that we wouldn't know who they are, but then we have to try to pick these people out and
Right.
just figure out there's going to be a terrorist attack here, and that's great. Law enforcement's getting that training, and they have been more proactive to it. And I think what the way this AI is working now is, instead of spending hours and dollar cents where you're training these law enforcement officers, and a lot of them are either retiring or their resources are so thin right now that the guys that are trained are just not everywhere. They're not available, even when you have mass gatherings. So now I know in New Jersey they do seer events where, depending on how level the threat level is, then we'll deploy individuals to that event, to that mass gathering, where they include people that are classically trained and stuff like that. But this technology, it's basically doing that. It's doing that left to bang. This technology is all AI now. So you don't have a law enforcement officer who's been working 12-hour shifts all week, and now he gets sent to this mass gathering event, and he's out there trying to pick these people out before an incident happens. And it's tiring. It's a long shift. It's tiring, and you're not gonna be able to get everybody. You're not gonna be as accurate.
Yeah.
And with AI using computer technology, that's why when I came over to the civilian sector and I came over to Argus, I'm like, wow, this is amazing, because we're doing that with real quick. AI is doing it. So basically, we're taking your existing cameras, or we're installing cameras into your facilities, that we can overlay this AI software that is
Yeah.
left to bang, that is proactive, and be able to pick that. And particularly for this incident, we have gun detection. We have gun detection. So if you were to take your cameras that are outside the building, and hopefully they had cameras. Obviously, we got some footage. I don't know if that was New York City's, the city's footage or what, but and then you implement the software. Now we're getting alerts sent to the security decision maker, or whatever the site SOP protocol would be. If this was to happen, how do you guys want us to handle it? So we're able to do that. We're able to implement this software and say, okay, you mentioned the talk down. We could put speakers throughout the facility, inside, outside. A gentleman approaching with a gun, lock the doors, lock the elevators. There a lot of these facilities are already doing the workplace violence. They're already doing the lockdowns. Stop the Bleed is a big program that the federal government pushes onto these facilities. It's a free program, and that's addressing the golden hour for EMTs, right? Trying to stop that bleed so we get more lives are saved. It is the same concept. It's a pre-alert system and alert whatever the security decisions. And yes, and talk down, and then either that gunman could get spooked or be like, okay, this ain't the place to go, or he can still continue on with his mission, but he won't be as successful. But yeah, that technology is there, and it's not just with gun detection. There's line crossing, where somebody walks past these steps. I want to know who it is, So there's so much software out there, and that can detect the AI. It's not, can we detect a gun, and it can it can tell the difference between an animal, a vehicle, a gun, and that's how sophisticated this AI is it's come a long way, and it's very, very accurate, and definitely could have helped the situation in an incident like this.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's very hard to stop somebody who's got a high caliber weapon like that, but it definitely, there could have been things, in my opinion, I think that could have been triggered earlier that would have maybe helped assist the outcome of it, and limit the damage of it. And it's like you bring up some points here, but we're going to touch on these points, and we'll take a quick break. That whole life cycle of from alert to conclusion of how something can go down. The facility basically sets that standard operating procedure. Like, so they'll set the terms of it. Like, is it going to a command center that's going to call you before something gets flagged, or is it a flag immediately, or the talk down? Like, they can set the parameters to, hey, in this situation we want this to happen, in this situation this needs to happen there too. And they're different threat levels, and you can set those different protocols on it. And I think it's very cool, and it's, in my opinion, something that should be part of the safety procedure. So there's a big push here in New York, especially on the retail side, for being prepared for these things. It's actually case law, or not case law, like actual real law,
Right.
that New York has passed, that requiring, if you have a certain amount of employees, I think it's more than 10, you got to have a panic button, you got to have active shooter training. In our industry, there's a guy, Mike Julian, in California. He has a live program, which is great. And he's one of the four front runners there in getting that kind of training out there. It's a great program. If you're an investigator and you do security consulting, you should consider that a live program. It's a really good training module, which he can do virtually too. So like things like that get set up. You have the assessments that are done, right? Guys like David will go to a building and say, okay, I see a problem here, I see a problem over there. Does your staff have adequate training? Let's go through the manuals, like that kind of stuff. Like, there's a whole vertical there as an investigator or security consultant, where you can tag on with that, and you can, that's a billable vertical, and understanding, that there are opportunities there. And that's why the Conflict Argus365 partnership, like, that's the spirit of what we're doing, because we each do a little bit of that, and then doing it together, coming together and doing it, and it makes sense. And we wanted to talk about that and share that partnership with everybody, basically how it all works. So we're going to tap out and take a quick break. But when we come back in, I want to really drill down a little more on that. Like, what does that look like? How we work together, and how there's opportunity in other markets for other investigative professionals to kind of hop on board here in what we're doing. So everybody sit tight, and we'll be right back.
Conflict International and Argus365 are looking for investigators and security professionals to be qualified partners in delivering artificial intelligence security solutions. If you have relationships with building managers, retail companies, or property builders, you can make passive income as a partner. Reach out to Matt at m.spaier at conflictinternational.com to learn more. Check out the PI Institute of Education at piinstitute.com. Since 1989, Kelly Riddle has been teaching on subjects such as surveillance, nursing home investigations, insurance fraud, domestic investigations, hidden assets, and accident scene investigations. The PI Institute of Education is a featured learning partner in the investigatorstoolbox.com. So check out the free content on the site, then visit the Institute for more great savings on additional classes.
Managing a team of investigators just got easier with TrackOps, the all-in-one case management software. Are you ready to enhance case flows and drive efficiency? TrackOps offers powerful management and coordination tools to streamline workflows and communication, all designed to keep your team synchronized and focused on the task at hand. With TrackOps, you can easily distribute workloads, track individual performance, and ensure deadlines are met. Plus, the TrackOps mobile app allows investigators to access case activities on the go. And the TrackOps video app allows for simple and consistent timestamping, all included at no extra cost. Start streamlining your investigation process today. Visit trackops.com for a free 15-day trial and experience the power of efficient team management. TrackOps, empowering teams, simplifying management. Satellite Investigations has launched its new website full of great new content. Matt and his team have released some great informative blogs. Make sure you log in to LinkedIn and follow Satellite Investigations for the latest content. Do you enjoy our podcast and the guests we bring you? Since 2019, Matt and his team have done their very best to give you amazing shows each week. If you feel like our show has helped you to be a better investigator, or maybe even inspired you to become an investigator, please let us know. We're looking for testimonials. Drop Matt an email with a recorded 20 to 30 seconds of you talking about this podcast. You can also email him something verbal about the website. His email is matthews@satellitepi.com. And if you really feel blessed for having this content, consider supporting Matt and our show by joining Investigators Toolbox. You really have to see version 2.0. And at just 49 cents a day, it's a no-brainer. Over the past year, our industry has been the target of foreign governments and agencies that have attempted to recruit unsuspecting investigators to gather intelligence or immediate expatriates. PI Perspectives is teaming up with the Federal Bureau of Investigations to get the word out about this ongoing crisis. If you've been contacted by an individual or company that might seem suspicious, please contact the FBI at tips.fbi.gov. You can also contact the New York field office at 212-384-1000 to report suspicious activity in any state. The link is also in the show notes. Even if you completed a job and it still doesn't sit right with you, you can report this activity. The only way to stop this trend is to work together. So let's do it.
And welcome back to PI Perspectives. We're here today with David DeJesus. He's from Argus365, based out of the wonderful state of New Jersey.
Yeah.
David, first of all, I want to say thank you for your service to the former military. I did not touch on that before. And welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
So we're talking about the synergies between a security consulting company who happens to do a lot of really cool AI technology and the private investigator, and how that kind of works where you can help out each other and have the exposure to it. So let's dive back into that. We touched on a little bit the active shooter situation. Obviously, that's front and center. That's a way that security is done. We talked about large venues, right? Well, I think one of the things that we didn't really touch on is crowd control. Having the ability to monitor crowd control, parking situations. You've got a really awesome solution for that, something called Barnacle. So why don't you tell me a little bit about the Barnacle stuff real quick?
Yeah, the Barnacle, which powered by Helos, we call it, as our name from the Argus365. Helos was the goddess that blinded people, because when we put this suction cup on your windshield, it blinds the driver. You're not gonna be able to drive for it. But basically, our parking solution is just It's a device that instead of booting a car and causing damage or carrying those heavy boots around, it's a very lightweight plastic device that creates a high power suction that's attached to the vehicle. It stops the driver from driving off. And what's nice about that is just like the boot. Somebody sees the boot there, they know they're illegally parked. We're forcing parking, but it's so convenient too because it's all when the driver could just get on there, they don't have to wait to like call somebody to get this boot released. They could just, along with their Apple Pay or their credit card, just call the number on the screen or scan a QR code and they pay the fine, whatever the fine is. So, the client can set the fine, any amount and could, depend on the violation and they pay that fine and it releases the suction on the actual, on the windshield, the device. And then they could just fold it, put it to the side or return it to a drop box located nearby. So it's a nice device because when it's deployed along with our software, you take a picture of the vehicle before you deploy it, put in the tag number and everything, and it documents everything. So it helps against like claims made to the hey, you're towing my, and also you're not dealing with tow truck companies contracts or them not responding or calling somebody or like I say, being the boot, just collecting these heavy devices or the risk of when somebody, depending on where you're applying that boot, you're down almost like changing a tire. There's cars coming by. You're risking the safety of your employee. This is all very done quickly and very efficiently, but it's a great device. We've been having a lot of success clients, especially in like multifamily housing, large, they've been having a lot of success with it. And it's enforcing parking and in a safe manner and not to worry about getting sued for damaged vehicles and stuff.
Yeah, no, it's definitely cool. Like if you are a security professional, you do work with any universities or hospitals, anywhere where there's like parking garages or like colleges, stuff like that, where they people are just parking randomly. Like if those are clients of yours, like being able to get Argus in front of those companies, that's part of the partnership, right? Make the introduction and then provide the service, and then you get a percentage of the revenue. And I think what's cool is the way this is all modeled out. It's not a one-time referral fee and thank you for your service. It's all as it continues to bill out, you're going to continue to get passive income coming in, and any business owner knows that passive income is like the golden goose.
It's just like going through the toll booth.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, keep the meter running. So that was another product that I thought was really cool, and we've actually worked together already, putting some quotes out to clients
Right.
for that technology, and I think that's something that's going to continue to increase. As a guy who lived in the Bronx at one point, and every now and then would walk up and see a boot on the car and going, "Ah, man, I'm gonna have to go all the way over to this facility, pay this fine." Like that's how you did in the Bronx. You got in a car, you had to drive to the South Bronx, pay a fine, and then you had to go back to where the car was, hopefully in time that the tow truck didn't come and take your car away. And
Right.
how do you drive over to something when your car's got a boot on it, right? You got to take an Uber.
And I seen it on Parking Wars. There's actually a show on TV like Parking Wars, I guess they call it, where they boot people, and there's always a confrontation with the driver and the person booting it. It's like because it takes so long to put this boot on. They got the wrench out there. They're doing all this. With this, it's just like put it on before the driver sees you and run. You don't
Yeah,
have to worry about the confrontation.
it's crazy. All right, so let's dig into like some of the verticals here. So as we continue to build our relationship, right, I really wanted to understand everything that you guys do, everything that I do, and like where is there the synergy? Where does that all work, right? And we've broken it down in the 4 categories. If these are any of your types of clients, these are people that may be interested in the services, right? So you talk high end residential. There are a uh, a couple different things an investigation company may do for a management company, real estate management company, right? Background searches, tenants that have skipped out on paying rent. Now they have judgment against them, and they're trying to do recovery of assets, that kind of stuff. Like that's some of the things that we do. Somebody runs out of town and you got to track them down. We're able to do that if they're hiring individuals, doing the screening, the pre-employment screening. Like those are things that an investigation company typically could do for a management company or real estate company. Um, or if you're a security company, maybe you're providing guards to that particular location. So where Argus 365 comes in on that is reducing the labor of the guards, right? What if you can, we'll break it down 24-hour shifts, 3 24-hour shifts. What if you're able to reduce one of those 8-hour shifts, right? And instead of having a live guard there, you now have this AI based technology. And really what it comes down to is the saving of money, right? If you could save that building owner money on labor, and on liability, and I'll let you touch on that, Dave, on the liability side, um, you know, would they not be interested in doing that? So what have you seen happen in some of these situations? Because you've got, I think, 70, 80 something buildings that you're already running the software. So,
Yeah.
or different accounts, 70, 80 different accounts. So tell me a little bit about what that looks like. What do you do for these companies?
Yeah, one of our biggest clients is saving over $650,000 a year right now, which capital talk about capital improvements in the type of economy right now. But yeah, it's like you mentioned, for let's talking about multifamilies, we're able to if they have physical security there, not just physical security, gate management too. They're paying for somebody to sit at that booth and let cars in or let the residents in. We're able to replace that individual. Unfortunately, because of AI, everything's electronic now. We're able to replace that individual with our AI, with gate management. Whereas you're paying that individual, anywhere from 30, a security company, 30, 40, $50 an hour to have a person physically there, whether it be 8 hours or 24 hours. We're able to remove that individual and let the AI technology software do that, whether it be opening the gate, control access, or just providing security, not just letting people in, whether it be intrusion, loitering. We have a very successful deployment. We have several successful deployments. So one I speak a lot about is in a high, it's in the city of Patterson, high crime area, low income housing, and we get a lot of vagrants, utilizing drugs in the stairway. We have low income families there, but they're families, their children's there. They just want to live in peace. They go to work, come to school, and then you got vagrants that are just hanging on the stairways doing drugs and stuff. And these people don't want to live like that. We have taken care of multiple properties like that where we're using our technology to remove loitering and vagrants and drug use and vandalism with talk down speakers or a hybrid solution, dispatching police. And what that's doing is it's lowering insurance premiums because you have enhanced security now. That's a big one.
Mhm.
Um, you're also you're also increasing the less vacancy rates for those individuals. They're getting Google reviews for these apartment buildings, and people are talking, all right, you don't want to live there. This is happening there, high crime or this and that. The management doesn't care. So we are decreasing those nuisance, and more people are living there. A couple things that we've seen a lot of success with is two things is slip and falls.
Mhm.
As a private investigators, you guys might get called to investigate a slip and fall when obviously when somebody goes on disability, workman's comp, following them around, see if it's true or not, whatever you guys do on your end. But we're able to add slip and fall analytics to these cameras. So when somebody says, "Hey, they fell," we have video recording it. Not even if you get hired as a private investigator to review footage of slip and falls, or maybe a client might come to you like, "Hey, we need, can you review this footage for us?" The AI it alerts us right away. This is a slip right here, slip and fall, and we're able to document that scenario and just archive it. So when that lawsuit comes in a couple months from now, we provide a report and we provide an archive of the video. Here's a slip and fall complaint, and we've
Yeah.
seen a tremendous 80% decrease in false claims, slip and fall claims, and everybody's looking to make that quick buck. Another thing is not just security. We look at security, we look at crime. We're also talking about like HOA violations. You got somebody nice building hanging out a fire pit, overlooking New York City, and at 10 o'clock, nobody's allowed in that amenities area. People are trying to sleep. They pay a lot of money to live there. So at 10:01, Somebody's at the fire bit, we're doing a talk down. Our AI is picking that up. Command center's doing a talk down in a nice way. We're not saying that we're calling the cops. Excuse me, you're violating the HOA rules and regulations. It's time to depart. So our clients love that. They love the HOA. They love all the analytics that we provide to them. And one thing I would tell you, you mentioned about security company and us coming in to help your private investigators with their relationships. That's what we're about. We're not, what differentiates from other people. And everybody says all customer service and all that. We're in a relationship with these people. We're trying to solve the problem, but it's not like they just pay for service, like they pay for security guard hourly. That's it. You got the security guard there. We give you a report. No,
Maybe he shows up. Maybe
yeah,
he shows up. Maybe he doesn't.
yeah, and that's it. You're dealing with human resources. You're dealing with, he shows up. If he shows up, he might be high. He might be drunk. Now, we had a case where not our security guard, we replaced the security guard at the building because there was a sexual harassment complaint against a tenant that lives there. The security guard kept coming to her door and wouldn't leave her alone, following her around. So that's the stuff you're dealing with when you're dealing with human resources, and it's guards falling asleep at night. We have a cemetery that replaced their security guard with our solution. Not only were we able to provide a security camera because they had no, if you guys know, there's not a lot of power in cemeteries. They're not allowed to run power, So what do we do? How do we, we have to pay for security guards? No, you don't. We'll give you we have a box, a solar box that's able to detect. They had a mausoleum store that was doors that were stolen. They refused to go through insurance because insurance premiums go up, right? So we're able to install this system, and we already had 2 hits on it already in less than a month. Where intruders, it was nothing. It was intruders in the cemetery, but they weren't stealing somebody walking through the cemetery. It was gated cemetery, But
you never know.
yeah, but the client right away was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing! This is like." Their security guard has been there for years. They haven't told anybody walking through because they're sleeping.
Well,
in the
maybe the walkthrough was a case. Maybe they're casing the joint.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know.
And they have a security guard, and I think they're safe. But security guard can't cover the whole cemetery. That's another thing. We cover more with the camera. We can cover more coverage than one person security guard.
Yeah, we have something that we're working on right now together. One of our deals where they were looking to eliminate 4 security guards. I think that we're covering like a couple of acres. It's like, yeah. I mean,
a lot of money.
We got some cameras that'll take care of that and just have better coverage for it. And I just want to circle back to a couple of things that we were talking about before with regards to slip and fall, right? So I think the benefits of that, and again, if you're a consulting company, really being able to push this through on it, is mitigating your losses, right? So what this system does is it lets you look at that situation and see like, okay, this is defensible, or we're gonna get beat on this one, right? And the defensible ones, what the software does is it alerts you and lets you know that, hey, this really isn't a claim. Like, this person either falsified their fall, it didn't really happen the way they said it was going to happen. Okay, so we can defend this one now, and we've got strong evidence here. We got video. Or looks like this person fell legitimately. Like, we need to not litigate this case out. We need to get rid of it very quickly. Let's just instruct the attorneys not to have all this billable hours here. Just get rid of it, dump it, right? So you're saving money that way by getting rid of it quick, as opposed to dragging it along where you're going to lose anyways on it. So you basically understand that area of how to minimize the damage on it. So that's very beneficial. I do a lot of slip and fall work. I work on the plaintiff side. We're always out looking for video, and sometimes the videos we find put our client at fault, and that's reality. It's always like you want to know the always know how you're going to lose your case, right? I always say that all the time. This is one of those situations. So sometimes it's, hey, this case is BS, or we got to pony up and get out of this one, right? So it's still, you're still saving money in both of those scenarios, because maybe it's early settlement, taking less money. They're taking less money, you're paying out less, or you're not paying a law firm to defend a case you're going to lose anyways, right? So just kind of understanding that.
Right.
It's all part of the equation, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. So that was one of the the verticals. We just spent a lot of time on it, but
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest vertical, right? So then the other one would be retail, and again, very similar situations,
yeah, yeah.
but add in crowd control, add in that assessment of, hey, are you up to code on what the local laws are, right? Do you have that panic button? Do you have training in place? Like these are all solutions that we can offer, or you should be able to offer, through your partnership or whatever, to these retail locations. You want to talk about theft of goods too, people stealing on site. Like you can program the AI to really look for that stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you could track like inventory too. Like if there's a wine store that's bottled very expensive wine, the AI knows like the normal behavior. Like if somebody has a shopping cart, it's taking that bottle of wine and putting it into the cart or walking up to the register with it. If AI detects it's going into like a bag or it's going into a person's body, now we get alerted for theft for services. That's the stuff that it does where a human might not be able to pick it up as fast as
It's
they
not just visitors; it's employees too.
yeah, it's employees too. Yeah,
Watching the
we do
employees.
have point of service, point of sales locations too on cameras and stuff to track inventory stuff. That's possible as well.
Yeah, so you get that, you get them dealing drugs, in the back room. If you have
Yeah,
cameras set up in there, you're catching that. AI
absolutely.
is looking for certain pattern behaviors or certain object recognition where they're coming across, and they're finding all that stuff. So that's definitely a vertical that you got to consider, right? So if you are an investigator and you have a relationship with retail companies, this is maybe something you want to get in front of them and see if they're interested, in doing it. So the third one would be construction sites. So
That's a good one.
and again, it's keeping an eye on the employees that are actually building your property, right? Looking for theft of material, right? Looking for time management, theft of time. Are they staying on their timeline of where they're supposed to be? You can monitor all that stuff, and let's say there's an accident on while they're building, right? You now have that information, and you can assess whether or not this is something we just got to get rid of. Is it an oopsie, or is it something like, okay, no, we're not at fault here, or
And
did
safety too. It's huge for safety. It can detect somebody's not wearing a hard hat. You know, safety at construction for insurance purposes and stuff.
right,
It's huge, and to enforce safety, we use that a lot too. Not wearing a hard hat, not wearing their reflective vest,
right,
driving a forklift or something in the wrong area, not designated zone. That's a lot of stuff that can definitely like warehouse and stuff. It can definitely help out.
sure. So if you're an investigator and you have a relationship with one of these building companies, construction companies, let's say you do their workers' comp uh, surveillance, right? The guys that get injured on the job, you do surveillance with them, right? You have this relationship with that particular company. Say you can go to them and say, hey, like I have a relationship with this really cool, AI driven security system. Can I introduce you to these people and see if maybe this is something you'd be interested in using, right? So, you're basically, as an investigator, as a security professional, you're hedging on your relationships. You're bringing that to the table, you know, to try and push the product, and then again, you're getting compensated based upon the referral fees and all that other stuff. So, um, and then the last one is the one that's it's a little new to this environment. I know I'm still getting used to the idea of that it's all legal now, and that's cannabis
Yeah,
farming, right? So, growing the green. So,
right,
how are
right.
you guys helping out the growers?
Hey, it's high quality stuff. People want to steal it, I guess, you know. So it's amazing. We actually put out a YouTube video, on the cannabis, or a current client that we service, and you can hear from the horse's mouth from him directly. But we have a client down in Atlantic City area, a big warehouse, grow warehouse, and we service him. Intruder detection. A place he's very confident, like you said, with the guards. He used to hire guards. They'll be sleeping in the parking lot. Big warehouse, so obviously he only wants to pay for one guard. That guard is not keeping track of somebody's in his warehouse backs up to the to woods, and it's train tracks or whatever. So, somebody could just come in through the back, and the guard could be in the front, and he'll never see it. So that's pretty much what we're doing: intruder detection, loitering, vandalism. For the growth warehouse, is not much interaction with the public, but when it's a cannabis store, so a couple things. We also get involved with the in New Jersey, every state obviously is different, but with the CDC, what they call it, with the cannabis regulators, CRC, Cannabis Regulated Commission, I guess is what it stands for. Basically, they got to submit their application, and it's all about security, right? Like, part of the application for the licensing is we got to have a detailed security plan to include employee training, how do you handle cash, having a safe, point of access, point of sales, access control, and then having guards or not having guards, having remote guarding. So we get in, based on relationship, we get in from the beginning. Doesn't We don't have to be in from the beginning, but we beginning with attorneys, working with attorneys, and we have a lot of relationship with attorneys that they, when individuals, investors go up to them like, hey, we want to get the cannabis first license, they reach out to the attorneys, and that would be for private investigators. You guys have a relationship with attorneys, and that'll be a good start. Hey, are you guys doing,
Right.
working with the cannabis licenses? And we'll help with the application by filling out the security requirements. It's a very in-depth explanation of how, like, these states want to know, how are you going to keep your stuff safe? How are you going to keep violence from that workplace? And how are you going to handle your money? And then we'll give you a license, but you got to have these steps in place. And then, like I said, our relationship is not just, here we are, have a nice day. Now, 99.9% of the time, every once in a while, you get somebody that just wants to go with like a cheaper company and just implement what we put together, and then they'll start calling us a year from now when nothing works, because they took the cheap route. But once we write up that report that you submit to the attorneys and the boards and stuff, and you get your license, now we help oversee that project management of implementing your security. So we're like your security consultants, and we'll help make sure the cameras are in the right locations, you got the right things in place. So that's where we come into play. We've been helping that industry a lot. We are part of the New Jersey Cannabis Association. We do attend conferences and talk to other investors and also owners. That's where we come into play with that. And the big one is because you're also replacing security guards. So a lot of these cannabis locations just pay for the guard, and I still see it. I'm like, why? And I drove by one the other day. I was taking my son to wrestling, and I drove by one the other day, and they had two security guards, and they were in the back of the place. I literally saw them. They were sitting there with their phones in their hands, and they're sitting back, leaning back. The entrance was on the other side, and two security guards sitting there. I don't even think they were talking to each other. They were texting each other. And I'm like, what a waste of money, when you could just implement AI and get rid of them.
I wonder how many gummies they had before they said they
Yeah, that too. Exactly.
One
Yeah,
never knows.
couldn't wait to get off work.
Yeah, I mean, so like I said, this is wild. The Wild West right now is still kind of figuring itself out. And the other thing to note too is your guys' company is minority owned, right? So
Correct. Yep.
sometimes when it does come to the bidding process, like that's part of the requirement. And it's good to know that you guys kind of check the box on that.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're gonna wind things down here. I wanted you to come on and just highlight, and I wanted the listeners, folks that are in the industry here, to understand that sometimes it doesn't have to be about the vertical that you specialize in, right? That within your line of work, you're going to come across things that you don't want to say no to, and it's always good to build partnerships, which is something that at Conflict we've done with Argus 365. And we're opening up that opportunity in different markets for different investigators. You're going to be in Chicago at the WAD conference in early September. And I'm very excited for that because, again, on a global scale, meeting investigators that may have relationships that it could be beneficial for everybody. It's something you want to talk about. So if you're attending WAD, they're going to have a table. Make sure you stop in, say hello to Dave, and learn more about it. We're going to prepare a bunch of marketing material so you as an investigator or security professional can really understand how this partnership can work. And really, again, passive income is the best income in the world, right?
Yeah. Matt, I do want to say something. We touched on a couple of AIs. There's so much stuff out there. We could spend hours talking about it. But one thing I do want to say is the last thing I'll leave you with this is, and we can talk about it in Chicago too. Conditional AI, we call it. Basically, if you're watching this and you're thinking about, can they do this? Give us a call. We had a client that wanted to control their dogs, where the dogs are going. They had a dog park, and they were relieving themselves in another location. Like, hey, can you guys track dogs? I was like, absolutely, we could do it. And we came up with the conditional AI. So conditional AI is basically just tell us, bring it to the table. We'll let you know if we could try it out. So much we could do with AI right now, and there's new analytics that's being created constantly. So conditional AI, just if you have an idea, bring it to the board. We'll let you know.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was something that I found like really impressive with your company, how you are part of this think tank of
Right.
security companies in the AI space that are pushing the envelope of this new technology. Hey, can you do this? Can you do that? It would be nice if it was able to do this, right? Like you're bringing those problems to that think tank, and they're working on solutions for it, which I think is just amazing. I mean, that's the type of stuff as an entrepreneur, like I get all fired up about. I
Yeah.
love R&D, and I love pushing the envelope. And I was very happy when you told me about that. I was like, oh, that's cool, man. These are guys that they love what they do, and it's obvious, and being good at it is icing on the cake, right?
Right.
So we're gonna have Dave's contact info in the show notes. But Dave, why don't you tell folks how they can get a hold of you if they have any questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best way would be just get it on argus365.com, www.argus365.com. On there, you have my contact information, our 800 number. We also have a little chat box on there as well. Just you can go on there and access questions on the chat box, and that's all memorialized, sent to us. But you'll get response on there. You can see our different vertical, our different services. Just make sure you mention, you saw us on here on the podcast, the Conflict International. That's the fastest way to get a hold of us. We're available 24/7. We do have answering service and stuff, and any type of issue, sales or whatever, they'll definitely get a hold of us. But that's the fastest way to get a hold of us.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll leave you with too is like this technology can be done anywhere. So any state you're in the United States, no problem. Any country you're in the world, if there's Wi-Fi, we can help out.
No, not even. Not even, because we have boxes that actually provide the SIM card and link up.
Well,
So it can literally be done anywhere. We could put a camera, solar, and a SIM connection. So yeah, you're right. It does need Wi-Fi, but we actually have the SIM cards that are provided with the system. So we got a complete package on one deal.
And one of the things you had mentioned earlier, I'll just mention again, you can either use the cameras that are already on site there, or
Yes.
you can put new cameras in.
Yes, we can use analog cameras, older cameras. We could put new cameras, or you could use existing cameras, or we could put new cameras in there. Correct.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's put a bow on this thing, wrap it up, and close down. Dave, thank you so much for coming on, and I'm excited by this partnership. I know it's going to do great things, and if you were listening to this and you want to get into it, or at least get more information about it, you can either contact myself or contact Dave, and we'll get the ball rolling. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch everybody next time on the next episode. Take care.
Thank you for having me.
What an interesting episode. Thanks to David for showing us some of the new technology available for security solutions. Don't forget to contact Matt if you're interested in becoming a qualified partner. We also want to thank 4 Pillars Insurance Research for sponsoring our podcast. Additional thanks to TrackOps, Scope Now, and PI Institute for Education. Also, don't forget about investigatorstoolbox.com, where you can type in Perspectives 50 to save $50 when you join up. And please follow Matt at Satellite Investigations on LinkedIn. If you have a question or a comment about the show, email Matt at matthews@satellitepi.com. You can also find him on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. We'd like your feedback to bring you the best shows possible. We'll be back next week with a new show, so make sure you tune in and stay safe out there.